You don't need a big account to become a real trader. What you need is a mind that refuses to sabotage itself. Every trader starts small, not just in balance, but in belief. The market doesn't care about how much you begin with. It only cares about how you behave with what you have. Most beginners make the mistake of trying to make money too soon. They trade as if the market owes them a return for showing up. But the truth is harsher. The market rewards preparation, not participation. It gives profit to those who earn the right to handle risk. If your account is small, that's not a limitation, it's a filter. It's the perfect teacher, because when your money is limited, your mistakes are affordable. You're being given a playground to train your mind before the real test begins. So let's talk about how to grow that small account. Not through luck, not through gambling, but through the only 3 strategies that matter. If you've ever looked at your small trading account and felt that sinking feeling, that doubt whispering, "I'll never get anywhere with this," understand this. It's not your capital that's small, it's your belief in what discipline can build. Most traders think they're underfunded. In reality, they're underdisciplined. The difference between a trader who grows a small account and one who burns through it isn't the market, the system, or luck. It's self-control. The ability to stay consistent when emotions beg you to break your own rules. The market doesn't reward potential, it rewards discipline. You can have the best strategy, the perfect setup, even the most advanced tools, but if you lack the internal structure to follow through, the market will take your money faster than you can hit the sell button. Trading discipline is not about being robotic. It's about being free from the chaos inside you that wants to trade on impulse, on fear, on the need to win. Think about what happens when you place a trade. The moment you enter, the emotional part of your brain wakes up. It starts tracking every tick, every tiny fluctuation in price. Suddenly you're not trading your plan, you're trading your feelings. You start to imagine outcomes. You feel excitement when the trade moves your way, anxiety when it doesn't. Your mind begins to wander into territory where discipline disappears. You forget that this isn't about being right. It's about executing with precision, and that's where most small accounts die. Not from the market, but from emotional interference. Discipline is the one thing that multiplies even when money doesn't. It turns small trades into lessons, small wins into confidence, and small losses into awareness. When you develop it, your trading account stops being a number. It becomes a mirror. It reflects the quality of your decisions, not the amount of your capital. Many traders believe they need more money to trade properly, but more money only multiplies what's already inside you. If your habits are impulsive, a bigger account will only accelerate your downfall. If your habits are structured, even a small account can grow in ways that defy logic. It's not the account size that limits you. It's your inability to control what happens between your ears. When you approach trading with discipline, every move becomes intentional. You stop trying to predict the market, and instead, you manage your behavior in relation to it. You know exactly how much you'll risk. You know where you'll exit, win or lose. You stop changing your plan mid-trade because you understand that the plan exists to protect you from yourself. The goal is no longer to make money today. It's to make the same good decision tomorrow, and the day after, and every day that follows. Discipline begins long before you click the button. It starts with preparation, defining your edge, knowing your setups, and deciding how you'll respond to different market conditions. It's the willingness to do the boring work, journaling, analyzing, reviewing, because you understand that progress isn't built in moments of excitement, but in hours of quiet reflection. It's not glamorous, it's not thrilling, but it's the only thing that lasts. There's a psychological shift that happens when discipline becomes your focus. You stop measuring success in dollars and start measuring it in consistency. You start to feel more detached from single outcomes. A losing trade doesn't destroy your confidence because you know it's just data. A winning trade doesn't inflate your ego because you know it's just one of many. You begin to feel peace, not because the market has changed, but because you have. Every trader eventually faces a breaking point. That moment when they want to abandon their rules because this one trade looks so good. That's the crossroads. That's the place where traders are separated. The undisciplined trader justifies it. I'll break my rule just this once. The disciplined trader doesn't, because they understand that one small undisciplined action always leads to a chain reaction of emotional chaos. Discipline isn't about being right. It's about staying aligned with your rules no matter what you feel. A disciplined trader doesn't trade to feel alive. They trade to stay aligned. The excitement is replaced by clarity. The anxiety is replaced by control. The confusion is replaced by confidence. The market becomes a mirror that shows you your level of mastery. You see, capital is external. It's the fuel, but discipline is internal. It's the engine. You can always add more fuel, but if the engine is broken, it won't matter. Most traders try to grow by increasing size, not by increasing control. They add more leverage, more trades, more screens, but what they truly need is more self-command. They think the market is testing their strategy, when in truth, the market is testing their emotional endurance. With discipline, even a small account can generate large lessons. And those lessons compound faster than any interest rate. Every time you follow your rule, even when it costs you a trade, you build a neural pathway that says, I can trust myself. That trust is priceless. It's what gives you the power to stay calm when others panic, to hold your position when others doubt, and to exit cleanly when others cling. Discipline is not a restriction, it's liberation. It frees you from your own chaos. In trading, inconsistency is expensive. One undisciplined trade can wipe out weeks of effort. But here's the irony. Discipline feels restrictive at first because it limits your freedom to act on emotion. Yet over time, it creates real freedom. The freedom to operate without fear, the freedom to detach from outcomes, the freedom to let the market be random and still remain centered. When you truly understand discipline, you stop fighting the market. You stop fighting your losses. You even stop fighting yourself. You begin to flow, not in some mystical sense, but in a practical one. Because you're no longer resisting reality, you accept that anything can happen. You accept that your job is not to predict, but to execute flawlessly. You stop asking, will this trade work? And start asking, did I follow my plan? That shift is what transforms traders. It's easy to trade when you're winning. The real test comes when you're losing. Can you stay patient when your account is down? Can you still take the next setup even after 3 losers in a row? That's discipline. The market doesn't test your strategy. It tests your ability to apply it under pressure. Most traders crumble not because their strategy fails, but because their emotions take control after a loss. The disciplined trader understands that loss is not a personal failure. It's statistical inevitability. It's part of the process. Imagine discipline as your trading foundation. Without it, everything collapses under emotional weight. With it, every experience, even the painful ones, becomes an opportunity to reinforce structure. The longer you stay disciplined, the stronger your foundation becomes, and with a strong foundation, even a small account can support big dreams. The disciplined trader learns to say no. No to overtrading, no to moving stops, no to adding risk impulsively, no to chasing moves that have already happened. Every no protects your account, but more importantly, it protects your mind. Because every undisciplined action chips away at self-trust. And once that's gone, no amount of capital can save you. This isn't about perfection. You will make mistakes, everyone does, but discipline means you learn faster from them. You don't hide from your journal. You don't blame the broker, the news, or the market. You take full responsibility. Not to punish yourself, but to grow your awareness. You treat every trade as feedback from the market about your behavior. Discipline is not something you develop once and keep forever. It's a practice, a daily recommitment. You wake up and choose structure. You trade your plan even when it's boring. You stay patient when others are chasing. You sit out when nothing aligns. That's the unseen work that builds lasting success. Most traders don't fail because they can't find an edge. They fail because they can't stay disciplined enough to let their edge play out. You'll know you've grown when you start feeling calm during trades that used to make you anxious. You'll notice you're no longer reacting to price. You're responding to your plan. That's what discipline gives you, emotional distance. It allows you to treat the market as a neutral environment, not a personal battlefield. And when you finally reach that point, something incredible happens. The market stops being intimidating. It becomes predictable, not in outcome, but in process. You realize that you don't need to control the market to make money. You only need to control yourself. When you operate from that state of inner order, capital becomes secondary. It will grow naturally, almost quietly, as a side effect of your discipline. You'll stop focusing on making more and start focusing on being more consistent, more patient, more aligned. So when you look at your small trading account, stop seeing limitation. See a laboratory for growth. Every trade is a chance to strengthen your discipline. Every day, is an opportunity to prove to yourself that you can follow your process without emotional interference. Your capital might be small now, but your discipline can be infinite. And over time, that discipline will multiply what capital cannot. Most traders begin their journey chasing one thing: profit. They want the rush of winning, the proof of success, the freedom that money promises. They stare at the charts not to understand, but to conquer. They believe the secret lies in predicting the next big move, catching the perfect entry, or riding a trend at just the right time. But that chase, that relentless need to make money, is what blinds them from the truth that separates the lucky from the consistent. Profit is not the goal. Process is, because only process scales. Profit is an outcome. It's temporary, it's emotional, it seduces you with short-term validation, and then vanishes the moment you forget the discipline that created it. The process, on the other hand, is structure. It's the set of behaviors, beliefs, and boundaries that generate consistent results over time. Process doesn't excite the beginner because it doesn't feel like progress. It's repetitive, it's slow, but it's the only thing that can grow without breaking. When you focus on process, you stop being controlled by outcomes. You stop measuring your worth by your latest win or loss. You begin to trade with clarity, not emotion. You start to understand that the market is a random distribution of wins and losses. No trade guarantees profit, but every disciplined action guarantees growth. Growth in consistency, growth in awareness, growth in control. That's what makes the process the real edge. Profit gives you dopamine, process gives you direction. The trader who chases money rides an emotional roller coaster of hope and fear. One day they're euphoric, the next they're defeated. But the trader who chases process is calm, neutral, almost detached. They know that every trade is just one of many. They don't celebrate too hard when they win, and they don't punish themselves when they lose. They simply execute, record, review, and improve. When you think long-term, process becomes the foundation of everything because it's the only thing you can actually control. You can't control what the market does. You can't control how other traders behave, but you can control your reaction. You can control your risk, your patience, your consistency. The moment you realize this, your entire trading identity begins to shift. You stop playing a game of prediction and start playing a game of execution. The process begins with structure, defining your edge, your setups, your entries, your exits, and your risk parameters. It's knowing when not to trade, just as much as knowing when to pull the trigger. It's about setting boundaries that protect you from the chaos of your own impulses. Because without structure, trading becomes an emotional lottery, and lotteries don't scale. Many traders think they have a process because they have rules written down, but true process isn't what's on paper, it's what's lived through discipline. It's not about what you say you'll do. It's about what you actually do when the market moves against you. Can you take the stop loss without hesitation? Can you let your winners run without fear? Can you sit through boredom without forcing trades? Those are the real questions that reveal whether your process exists in theory or in practice. The irony of trading is that the more you focus on profit, the harder it becomes to achieve it. When you fixate on results, you unconsciously start bending your rules to force outcomes. You hold losers too long because you need them to turn around. You cut winners too early because you fear giving back what you've gained. Every decision becomes reactive, emotional, desperate. You lose the structure that creates consistent performance. But when you shift your focus to process, profit begins to flow naturally because the process allows probabilities to work in your favor. It removes the noise, the second guessing, the emotional highs and lows. It creates repetition. The kind of repetition that allows your edge to show up statistically over time. You stop obsessing over this trade and start thinking in terms of the next 100 trades. That's where consistency lives. The difference between amateur and professional thinking is subtle but profound. The amateur trades for validation, the professional trades for execution. The amateur wants to feel right, the professional wants to act right. The amateur measures success by how much they made today, the professional measures it by how accurately they followed their plan. And ironically, the professional ends up making far more over time. Not because they try harder, but because they interfere less. Process-centered trading also builds emotional resilience. When you're focused on your method instead of the money, your self-worth stops fluctuating with your P&L. You begin to experience a deeper sense of stability, the kind that allows you to stay composed through losing streaks and unbothered through winning ones. That emotional neutrality is what keeps you consistent, and consistency is what compounds results. Let's imagine two traders, both starting with the same small account. Trader A focuses on profit. Trader B focuses on process. Trader A enters trades impulsively, guided by instinct and excitement. When they win, they feel invincible. When they lose, they feel cursed. Their account becomes a reflection of their mood swings, up, down, chaotic. Every decision is about fixing or chasing something. They jump from one strategy to another, hoping to find the holy grail that guarantees profit. Trader B, meanwhile, builds a routine. They start each day by reviewing setups, identifying clear levels, and defining their risk. They don't care whether the trade works out or not. They care only whether they followed their process. Over time, Trader B begins to notice patterns, not just in the market, but in their own behavior. They adjust, refine, and grow. Their progress feels slower, but it's stable. Their results compound, not because they discovered a secret strategy, but because they discovered themselves. That's the hidden truth. Process reveals who you are under pressure. Every time you break your rules, it's not because of the market, it's because of you. Your lack of patience, your greed, your fear, your need for certainty. The process exposes it all. And that's why most traders avoid true process, because it forces them to confront their own psychology. It's easier to blame volatility than to admit inconsistency. But when you embrace process, you start to welcome discomfort. You understand that each mistake is data, not disaster. You stop judging yourself by outcomes and start observing yourself with curiosity. You become a student of your own behavior. That's how mastery begins. Not by memorizing indicators, but by mastering internal reactions. A process-oriented trader knows that every trade has two outcomes, financial and psychological. You either make money or you make progress. Both are valuable. Both move you forward. When your focus is process, you win even when you lose because you're refining the one thing that truly scales. Your mindset. Profit-driven traders live in cycles of boom and bust. Process-driven traders live in cycles of learning and adaptation. Over months and years, the difference becomes enormous. The profit chaser burns out, the process master compounds. The first grows tired of uncertainty, the second grows comfortable within it. That's the paradox of real growth. The more comfortable you become with randomness, the more predictable your results become. Focusing on process also builds trust, not just in your system, but in yourself. You begin to see that you can rely on your discipline, that you can handle losses without emotional collapse. That self-trust is priceless. It's what allows you to scale with confidence. Without it, more capital just creates more chaos. With it, scaling becomes natural. You add size, not because you're greedy, but because your process can handle it. Think of process as your anchor in a sea of uncertainty. The market will always move unpredictably. Up, down, sideways. News will shock, emotions will flare, volatility will spike, but your process remains the same. It keeps you grounded. It reminds you that your job isn't to predict the next candle, it's to execute your plan regardless of what the next candle does. This is what separates sustainable traders from short-lived ones. Sustainable traders don't need to know what will happen next. They only need to know how they will respond. Their process defines that response. It's the map they follow through every condition, every emotion, every surprise. Without it, they'd be lost. With it, they're free. Process doesn't mean rigidity. It evolves. As you gain experience, your process deepens. You learn to adjust, to refine, to eliminate what doesn't serve you. But those adjustments are deliberate, not reactive. You don't rewrite your rules mid-trade because of fear or excitement. You adapt only after reflection, testing, and proof. That's how your process matures, through evolution, not emotion. In the end, the process is what defines your identity as a trader. Profit will fluctuate, methods will change, market conditions will shift, but your process is the thread that ties it all together. It's what turns trading from a gamble into a craft. When you master it, trading becomes less about chasing and more about expressing who you are. Calm, precise, patient, present. If you want to grow a small account, stop asking, how much can I make this week? And start asking, how accurately can I follow my plan this week? Because profit is a side effect of precision, and precision only comes from process. Every time you execute a trade according to plan, regardless of the outcome, you're winning the only game that matters, the internal one. Every correct execution is a deposit into your confidence account. Every act of discipline strengthens your consistency muscle. Over time, that internal wealth compounds far faster than your capital. The market doesn't pay you for brilliance, it pays you for consistency. And consistency is born from process. When you align your behavior with a defined plan, you remove randomness from your actions. You still can't control results, but you control execution. And that's enough. So stop worshiping profit. Stop chasing numbers that mean nothing without structure. Build your process, protect it, honor it. Because when you do, the market will start to recognize your presence. Your small account will grow, not through magic, but through mastery. And when you look back years later, you'll realize something profound. It was never the process that served the profit. It was the profit that served the process. Profit was never the prize. It was the proof that you finally learned how to let the process do its job. That's the only strategy that scales. Not setups, not signals, not luck, process, because it's the one thing that multiplies across time, across markets, across every version of you that continues to evolve. Every trader dreams of compounding their money, of turning a small account into something life-changing. They imagine the freedom, the validation, the sense of mastery that comes with watching numbers grow. But few realize that before capital can compound, something far more important must compound first: confidence. Because without confidence, every win feels like luck, and every loss feels like proof of failure. Without confidence, you can't size properly, follow your plan, or endure the inevitable losing streaks that come with trading. Capital grows only when your inner belief grows faster than your balance. Confidence is the invisible equity that every consistent trader owns. It's not built through luck or guessing right. It's built through repetition, through resilience, through the experience of surviving uncertainty. It's the quiet certainty that you can handle whatever the market throws at you, not because you can predict, but because you can manage yourself through it. Confidence is not arrogance. It's not believing that you'll win every trade. It's knowing that even when you lose, you'll still be okay. When most traders start, they think confidence will come after a few big wins. They assume success will make them feel secure. But that kind of confidence, the kind built on outcomes, is fragile. It disappears the moment the market turns. True confidence is built not in the wins, but in how you handle the losses. It's born in the moments when everything feels uncertain, but you still follow your process. It's shaped every time you take a stop loss without hesitation, every time you stay patient instead of forcing a trade, every time you stay grounded when fear and greed try to take over. The reality is that the market is designed to test belief. It's random, unpredictable, and emotionally exhausting. Without internal confidence, you'll constantly look for external reassurance. From strategies, mentors, indicators, or opinions, you'll keep switching systems because you don't trust yourself to stay consistent. But once confidence compounds, you no longer need to be rescued by external signals. You become your own anchor. You stop reacting to every market move and start responding with clarity. Confidence isn't built overnight. It's earned one disciplined decision at a time. When you execute your plan exactly as intended, even on small trades, you send a message to your subconscious: I can be trusted. Every time you act in alignment with your process, that message grows stronger. Over weeks and months, these small acts of alignment compound into unshakable trust. And that trust is what gives you the courage to scale, to risk more, to grow. You don't add size because you're greedy. You add size because your behavior has proven worthy of it. The traders who burn out are those who try to compound capital before compounding confidence. They rush to increase position size after a few wins. They start believing they've figured it out. But because their internal foundation isn't strong, one bad streak destroys them emotionally. They lose faith, not just in their system, but in themselves. That's why trading feels like an endless emotional loop: excitement, euphoria, fear, despair. Without compounding confidence, you can't hold on to consistency long enough for capital to compound. Confidence gives you emotional endurance. It allows you to experience drawdowns without falling apart. It helps you stay patient during slow periods. It keeps you detached when your strategy goes through natural variance. It allows you to let probabilities play out over time instead of trying to force immediate results. This emotional steadiness is what creates longevity, and longevity is what makes compounding possible. Think of confidence as your internal account balance. Every disciplined action is a deposit. Every impulsive, rule-breaking moment is a withdrawal. Just like with real capital, growth happens when deposits exceed withdrawals. When your behavior becomes consistent, your emotional account grows, and eventually, that confidence balance becomes large enough to fund your success. Confidence isn't built by being right, it's built by doing the right thing repeatedly, even when it feels uncomfortable, especially when it feels uncomfortable. When you take a loss exactly as planned, you might lose money, but you gain something more valuable. Proof that you can execute your rules under pressure. That's the moment you start compounding confidence, and it's that internal growth that allows your external capital to multiply later. Many traders try to fix their results by changing strategies. But most of the time, the problem isn't the system. It's the lack of confidence to follow it. Confidence connects belief to behavior. Without it, even the best system fails, because you won't execute it consistently. You'll hesitate on entries, exit too early, and panic when volatility rises. But with confidence, you can take the same simple strategy and extract consistent results, not because it's perfect, but because you are stable enough to let it work. Building confidence requires emotional honesty. You have to face your weaknesses without judgment. You have to study your behavior the same way you study price action, objectively, patiently, without ego. Ask yourself, why do I feel the need to change my stop? Why do I overtrade after a win? Why do I hesitate when the setup is clear? Every answer teaches you something about your inner landscape. That self-awareness becomes the foundation of lasting confidence. The reason confidence must come before capital is because the market amplifies everything. If you trade with fear, more capital multiplies fear. If you trade with greed, more capital multiplies greed. If you trade with discipline and trust, more capital multiplies discipline and trust. The market doesn't create your emotions, it magnifies them. So the question is, what do you want to magnify? True confidence comes from repetition. The brain learns through evidence. You can't talk yourself into belief. You have to prove it to yourself through consistent behavior. Every time you act in alignment with your plan, even when it's uncomfortable, you're rewiring your brain, you're teaching yourself that you are in control. Over time, this becomes automatic. You no longer need willpower to follow your rules. It becomes your default state. That's when trading becomes peaceful. Confidence also gives you perspective. You stop seeing every trade as a defining moment. You see it as one small data point in a much larger game. You understand that a losing trade isn't an attack on your identity. It's just part of the statistical flow. You stop fighting the market and you stop fighting yourself. This inner calm allows you to trade with greater precision and less effort. When confidence compounds, hesitation disappears. You stop second-guessing. You stop seeking perfection. You act decisively because you trust the probabilities and your ability to manage outcomes. That decisiveness creates momentum, and that momentum becomes compounding in action. You're no longer trapped in the emotional cycle of doubt and overreaction. You're in a rhythm. Confidence also creates patience, one of the rarest traits in trading. When you trust yourself, you don't feel pressured to force trades. You can sit through slow markets. You can wait for the perfect setup. You can allow your edge to appear instead of chasing noise. Patience is the proof of real confidence. It's the moment when you realize that opportunities are endless, so there's no reason to rush. The beauty of compounding confidence is that it never disappears. You might lose money, you might even start over, but once you've built inner trust, it stays with you. It becomes part of who you are, an internal asset that no drawdown can erase. You could wipe out your account, but not your ability to rebuild it. That's the difference between those who make it long-term and those who don't. Successful traders know that their real wealth is internal, not numerical. Compounding confidence also changes how you see risk. You stop fearing it. You start seeing it as a tool. You understand that risk is the price of opportunity, not something to avoid. You learn to respect it, not run from it, because you trust your ability to manage it. You no longer hesitate to take the next trade. You stop seeing loss as pain and start seeing it as part of progress. That mindset shift is the ultimate sign that your confidence has compounded. And once that happens, capital growth becomes inevitable. Because the same mental framework that builds confidence, consistency, discipline, self-trust is the exact framework that grows money. It's the same process, just mirrored externally. When you're emotionally stable, you stop sabotaging gains, you stop overtrading after wins, you stop spiraling after losses, you become predictable to yourself. And in trading, self-predictability is the highest form of power. Confidence also creates flow, that effortless state where trading feels natural, where decisions come easily, and where you're fully immersed in the process. You're not forcing the trade, you're allowing it, you're not chasing, you're observing. This flow isn't magic. It's the result of deep confidence meeting practice skill. It's the point where your beliefs, your process, and your behavior align perfectly. You don't need to have a large account to experience this. In fact, it's better to build confidence while your account is small. Because in those early stages, every trade teaches you something valuable about yourself. The losses are affordable, the lessons are priceless, and the growth is exponential. When your confidence grows, in proportion to your understanding, capital becomes secondary. You're building a mental engine capable of sustaining any size in the future. Eventually, something extraordinary happens. You wake up one day and realize you no longer crave certainty. You don't need to know what will happen next. You just need to know that you can handle it. That is real freedom. That is the point where trading stops being about fear and becomes an expression of trust. Trust in your edge, your process, and your ability to stay aligned. When confidence compounds, everything else aligns. Your discipline strengthens, your focus sharpens, and your emotional reactions fade. You stop needing the market to validate you. You stop defining yourself by outcomes. You start trading from a place of peace, a place where profit is simply a byproduct of inner certainty. So before you worry about compounding capital, focus on compounding confidence. Every day, build small wins within yourself. Follow your plan, manage your risk, journal your emotions, stay consistent. Each repetition is a deposit into your confidence account. Over time, those deposits create something no market fluctuation can take away. The unshakable belief that you can handle anything. And once you have that, the rest becomes inevitable. Capital follows confidence. Always. Because money can only multiply in the hands of someone who has mastered their mind. The market doesn't reward those who want to make money. It rewards those who've proven they can trust themselves to manage it. That's why confidence compounds before capital. Because money follows mastery, and mastery begins within. When you build that inner wealth, every external gain is just a reflection of who you've already become. A small account isn't a limitation. It's your proving ground. It's where you learn patience, discipline, and trust in your own process. When you treat every trade as a step toward mastery, not a shortcut to profit, the market begins to respect you. The journey from small to large isn't about finding better trades. It's about becoming a better trader. Capital follows confidence, and confidence follows consistency. Keep showing up, keep executing, keep refining. Grow your mindset before you grow your money, because once your behavior matures, your account can't help but follow. The real growth starts and stays within you.